Okay, so finally, here's the long-awaited conversation. We got together here today. Previously, we obviously talked about Steve Jobs, as you can see here, but this is the part of the show where we did want to take a moment because we've teased it, but we figure, why not? Why make it its own episode because we don't have too much to say on it to do a full review. But we've been teasing it for about 2 months now since the film came out. When did it come out? Was it September or October?
September,
Yeah. So we all went and watched the movie Megalopolis when it was in theaters. And I remember the reasoning as to why we wanted to go watch it. We've talked about wanting to go watch movies together sometimes, and we've done it with other films. But we also I know that you felt very strongly about it, Max, at the time, because you did not like the way that people were throwing dirt on Francis Ford Coppola's name in the media. You also didn't know the extent as to why they were going to the extent of talking so much shit about this film when it was coming out. Like you kind of were like, yeah, some of the actual reviewers that are talking about this, let's say, and I say this for us as well, because I know we review stuff here, but what's even like official reviewers these days in terms of media, right? Like, I don't know. It's not like we have a Siskel and Ebert, so to speak, right? I know there is critics that still write.
It's very democratized now. Like everyone is a critic,
right?
And everyone has access to.
So you didn't like the way that people were going on about this movie, if I remember correctly, right?
No, I just thought the whole MegaFlopolis thing was.
I mean, that's hilarious.
It's funny, but it's also it brings up this whole interesting thing for me where it's like, first off, I don't really understand. Listen, if someone doesn't like the movie for whatever reason, they don't like it.
Right.
I'll accept that. I don't care.
Right.
But the whole thing about why are audiences so invested in whether or not a movie does well at the box office? Like they have anything to gain from that? Like they're gonna make money off a stock or something. Like if a movie does bad or if a new movie does well, what does that have to do with the actual movie, with the actual finished product? And it's kind of related to Steve Jobs too, because that movie didn't do very well at the box office, and so it kind of makes it seem like, is a movie only remembered now if it does a movie only have merit?
Yeah.
If it has merit, if it makes money, and I feel like that's kind of the wrong way to look at things, because it's not about money, it's about the art, it's about the product, the final portrait,
and what you take from it,
the final story, and whatever you get out of it.
And then I just think there was a dialogue that slowly started to circulate after the film's release. There was all of a sudden certain defenders of this film, because there was people that just went on a rampage of trying to talk trash about this film after the fact.
You included.
Well, listen, no, I without having watched the movie, I said I enjoyed the MegaFlopolis talk. I did say that apparently it's crap. I'm hearing it's crap because, listen, and even some of our comments, if you've watched the show after watching it the last time, I said out of the three of us, I probably liked it the least out of all three of us. That being said, we felt it's worth having a larger conversation after we ended up watching the movie. Max wasn't on the show with us throughout the month of October because he was scared of all the horror picks we were picking through Spooky
I'm
Month.
still scared.
Yeah. But no,
I'm scared of Christmas movies too, so don't pick that.
Yeah.
Make it a horror Christmas movie.
Yeah, there is. They exist, right? So no, but in all honesty, in all honesty, though,
Christmas trees.
Jokes aside, I just thought it was better to come back and actually have a little bit more of a conversation, because we had teased it for a bit.
Yeah.
I was making even jokes about how Max thought the film was genius. These two were going off after actually watching it. It actually it lent itself to a lot of actual interesting conversation following the movie, where we had walking back to where JT had the car parked that night after we had watched it, right? And since then, I feel like JT, I made the joke about this guy seeing it 10 times. I feel like JT's seen it 6 times now or something.
Well,
right?
I've watched it more than enough. I think I watched it 3 or 4 times this week.
That's amazing.
Right. So why don't you start us off here? What are your thoughts now, having seen the movie the most now? I just felt that was important to the conversation though, Max, because those were your initial feelings when all this talk was even more. That's what kind of even drove you to be like, let's go watch this movie. It can't be that bad. This is Francis Ford Coppola, right? That was your kind of initial thoughts behind this, right? So Jay, what'd you think?
It's just like other movies that he does. You have to watch it, I think, more than once to understand the greatness behind his storytelling and his directing and the way he can put something into the art that you don't see maybe the first time, you don't see maybe the second time, maybe you see it the third time around, but you have to really pay attention to this film to really understand. I mean, if you want to compare the Megalopolis a little bit to the Steve Jobs, is that they are visionaries. Steve Jobs himself, Francis Ford Coppola, just just the envision to think of the way he put this story together. Now, whether he was the one, he must have done it dead on. I'm not sure if he did all the screenwriting, if he did everything all together, if that's his art where he directs and screenwrites the movie. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But honestly, even if it's not, whoever's doing the screenwriting is making a crazy story, and he's actually making it sound maybe in his own vision of that story. I think this movie is very relatable to just the way that you don't pay attention in the beginning to like the opening.
It's all him. That's what I thought. It's all him.
You don't pay attention to the opening credits. You forget about the narrating that's involved in this film, where I'm pretty sure it's Lawrence Fishburne. That's his Lawrence narrating Fishburne, the whole time. But the narrating, if you listen to those words before you actually take a listen to that, or actually take a focus to the scene, it brings out so much more in that scene that you can. And I don't know if it was me, because before this I had watched a movie about old Rome and that whole stuff and the way it went, and in this one here you get something like you're trying to get people to realize now, to use a different part of their brain in thinking. When he comes to that civilization realization, when he's trying to explain to you that civilization, I think it's making the point to now that I've rewatched enough times, the point to say it's civilization failing because they're not willing to stretch the imagination the way it should be, because our brains are so focused.
They're afraid of failing.
No, but our brains are so focused on a certain way of using them because we've evolved over the years, and now we think we're safe at this point, but we can evolve each other. We can become more
evolved together,
as a human race, as a species, regardless. If you just tend to envision certain things differently and try to maybe, like, I feel like Caesar in this one is actually Catalina. There is actually his character is very smart by saying that he's actually, I feel like he's using a different part of his brain than other people are, where he's actually making stuff happen. And if you notice that the girl that's with him, not his wife at the time, but what's her name? Cicero's fucking daughter.
Yeah.
There. The one from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The Khaleesi's.
Now this is where
translator.
It brings me into a Game of Thrones feeling, and the characters that are played within this movie, as Shia LaBeouf and this and that, you can kind of put them in that era of. I know Game of Thrones is a fiction.
Yeah.
And
you mean the ancient Rome aspect?
Aspect of it, but in a different way of looking at it.
Right.
And
with him sleeping with his sisters and things like of that nature.
A lot. Right. Sisters, cousins, everything.
I think there's a lot
in the dress.
There's a lot that he was tapping into, like certain themes from Roman times in this film, and just in modern day kind of perspective, like aspect of like a modern day perspective on it. Also, like it kind of had like a lot of like Greek tragedy type of moments in it as well.
What I'm saying.
Like,
there is a lot of fucking tragedy.
Yeah,
and in that sense, but
like drama, like kind of like dramatic, kind of like Greek tragedy. I mean, like it's almost like a soap opera of sorts. The actual the events of this film. But yeah, finish your thought.
The thing I was saying, they say that this was the Roman Empire in the 21st millennium. So it's the third.
Yeah, I think this is the third Roman Empire.
Third go around at it, right? And it's the 21st century, really. So think about using the theory of that Roman way of living, in the 21st century, and how it's not going to work.
Yeah,
as we always look back at history and thinking that we're learning something from it.
We're doomed if we repeat your mistakes type of deal. Like, you don't learn from them.
We're not.
Right.
We think that we're not in life,
right?
But we technically are, and I think this is where Francis Ford Coppola was trying to direct this movie and saying that maybe if you just change your thinking a little bit, you're gonna see a whole new perspective in life. Look what it took. They mentioned it in the Steve Jobs movie, that fucking 70s satellite that went up into space.
Right.
Okay. What started the whole Megatropolis is that satellite that came down.
Megalopolis,
sorry. With that satellite that came down.
Megatropolis is like something from Transformers.
No, it's Superman. I think it's Superman. Am I right?
My heart started to laugh when he said that.
It was Superman, bro. That's what I was
holding that laughing like.
But
Megatropolis.
Yeah, Megatropolis. Megalopolis.
Megaflopolis.
Yeah, MegaFlopolis, like they say in the fucking credit. But no, yeah.
and Superman's Metropolis, not Megatropolis.
I'm mixing them all up, bro. Today. Hey, there you go. I did good on the first recording. But yeah, no. So when you think about it, I love you, Max, bro. You're killing me, bro.
I love you too, bro.
Hey, but this movie is making you realize that you need to see stuff in a different light, because if you don't, and if we keep fucking it took that. They're basically saying is what they did is they maybe in the third generation of the Romans, they sent that fucking thing up, which would have been the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Which would have sent that fucking satellite up that came crashing, and it didn't know where it was going to crash. Like they didn't know where it was going to crash in real life.
Right.
Luckily, it crashed in the water.
Right.
Here, it didn't crash in the water in the Megalopolis. Right.
Right.
So you think of it, it's like it took something like that to make the world change.
Right.
You know, you see how what's his name? Shia LaBeouf is rallying the troops, which is the small folk. If you think about it, and those are just the people like us.
I think his part in it is more representative of American politics, right?
Yes,
now,
but
that's
where you can go back and think about it. That we're doing the same thing we did back then, right now. Like people aren't realizing that we are kind of not looking forward.
Yeah,
we're kind of staying still.
Overthrow an empire.
Stuck in a cycle, you know.
Yeah, like I mean, he honestly, literally says that if what's his name? The Esposito there. I just said his name.
Giancarlo Esposito. He's the mayor. I can just call him the mayor.
Yeah, the mayor, right?
Mayor, yeah.
Cicero.
Yeah.
Mayor Cicero.
Cicero. Okay. He says that we evolved already. We've evolved from chimpanzees or whatever the fuck they want to call it, monkeys and chimpanzees, right?
Right.
But we didn't just do that on our own. And Adam Driver delivers this whole thing where he says, you know, how can it do it on such a vast thing? Like, how do you get from this way? You had to work together.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to make people see that, you know, maybe
that's when they actually have that sit down together, and he expresses his concerns with his way of thinking, and he says like utopias turn into dystopias, and basically like why would we continue to do this if we're unsure, if it's set out to fail, and like but
how do we know it's unsure? How do we know it's gonna fail?
This is the main point I wanted to make about this movie upon this rewatch for me. Since I've rewatched it once since the first time we all saw it together in theater, is that I understand why you probably really have taken to this film. It's for a person who is not accepted change in his own life, I feel like, for so long, and is actually now learning that change can be positive in a good way as well. No, but it's the same,
Dr.
honestly.
He's already had this conversation with me, and I know what he's talking to me about.
People are afraid of change. Absolutely. It doesn't even have to be JT. Exactly. I'm just putting him on the spot because I feel like he can relate to this. I'm trying to say that the human race, as opposed to like the how they are in this film, he is not willing to move forward because he's afraid of what can happen. Like if they make a wrong decision, he's afraid of the change that will affect human civilization and their lives. Right. That's why Cicero is fighting back against like this happening. Right. But like, and that's why I said I was relating it to you, because also in that sense, like people are afraid of change, but sometimes change can lead to good as well. Good changes in your life.
This is what Adam Driver was trying to bring with that character.
And this is exactly what he's trying to tell him in this movie is that he's like, we have to do this. We have to have hope. Therefore, if we don't have that, we have nothing. Like we
Yeah,
need to like. And so the messaging, honestly, around this movie, I really like, and I like how positive it is. I like how he's thinking of a utopian society. But when you boil it down, I'll tell you guys, still my main issue with this, my second time around, and I was having a hard time pinpointing it upon my first watch. I couldn't really tell you what I didn't like about it, but I just knew I didn't like it as much as you guys. So first off, I love the messaging. I love the idea of this movie. I feel it gets bogged down, his idea of this film, with all the goofiness of this film too. It's very
creative.
I love that part of it.
But
that's what catches people's attention, like me.
I can have fun with it, like in that sense. I can have fun with the movie like that, but I just think the tone is very off on this movie in the sense that he's having so much wacky moments. But if you look up the genre of this movie, this is supposed to be like a science fiction movie. This is supposed to be like a fantasy.
Like look and open your eyes.
But I think the way that it was sold to them, or at least what people thought this movie was going to be, it was going to be a much more serious drama. But he's actually talking about much like serious ways of thinking. Like the ideas that he's trying to sell you on in this film are actually really great ideas, but it's just, I felt like the execution, the tone of it, it's just very wacky. Like there's a moment where he's talking to Esposito there, Cicero there, he's talking to him, and they're like in his new house on this utopia, and it's like a flower house or something, but and they're sitting there, and I'm just like, no, I know, but it's just
and
like
it can change. But that's what I'm saying.
Or the part where he gets shot in the eye, and he takes the bandages off, and
music starts playing.
Yeah, I'm just like, what is
Bro,
going
it's almost
on?
Like,
in
okay,
this
I love that
movie?
shit.
No, it's great.
This guitar and shit.
It's. But here's the difference. You know how we talked about The Crow? Let me just finish this thought. You know when I talked about The Crow a little while ago, and I said, this is a movie that's taking itself way too seriously, and I don't think they're in on the joke. It's coming off as funny at times, but I think they don't realize maybe how funny it is. This one's purposely the tone. He knows when he's doing funny stuff in this movie. I think that's where I think people are misunderstood on this film, is that they go into it and there's so many laughable moments. They're like, how am I supposed to take the ideas in this movie seriously when it's so wacky and over the top at certain other points? It's a weird mixture.
But think of it
the
this
size of my boner.
Yeah, right. Like,
but think of it this way.
Great part. Love it. Shia LaBeouf banging what's her name, Aubrey Plaza. Like, but just
wow.
I just feel like these things in this movie are just like it feels like you're watching two different movies. I'm seeing
you might be watching three, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. I'm not even joking. Okay, this is what I mean. When you're watching a Roman civilization style movie, okay, you're watching a 21st century comedy and a version of the way we live life now,
right?
Okay, and then you're watching a future that you've never even envisioned before in your life.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's amazing.
That future that you're envisioning, and I've been watching a lot of TV shows and stuff about, especially about brain, and I've been just doing a lot of research on the brain itself,
right,
and how much we don't use and stuff like that. It's not unfathomable.
Yeah.
Am I saying?
You are. Yeah.
Okay. That we cannot process and connect with parts of our brain that we don't notice. There's something that has to be there, and there's something that has to want to give us that push and that drive. And whether it be a movie like this or a push like this to make people see that, you know what, they ended the Roman civilization ended for a reason.
Right.
Why are we going back to almost living like that?
Right.
Where it's almost like a civil war in the countries that we are living in now.
Well, that's why
we can't even get along with each other.
Right.
We can't even get along with each other on this planet. How are we going to evolve from this planet?
Again, those are the thoughts. Those are the thoughts he says in this movie.
Yeah, the monkey,
I love the messaging of this movie. I like what he's trying to say. I love that it's a positive end about a possible future, which ends on the scene of his new daughter, where it is about the children. They are the future. We can possibly have this if we all work together. Honestly, I got that now. I got the ending. Yes. I know I was talking with you guys even after we watched it the first time. That didn't come through to me because I was too focused on like the other aspects of the film that I'm like, what the hell is going on with that?
This is why I thought with the Steve Jobs,
I just wish that he played it more straight in the sense that like I just felt it was a little just too wacky for the it was just.
This is the difference. Where I think my mind and your mind are too different, and it's a good thing. Is where you see straight. It's kind of like my brother. You see straight ahead, you see the goal ahead of you, and you go for it. You got to remember, there's this much around you, bro. Anything that your vision can see can affect that going straight.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If you can channel everything the proper way, you are gonna totally think of life differently. I think personally, because I've been trying to do that in the last few months,
right,
in the last year or so. I've been trying to just think of different ways of thinking, of living and thinking, and a lot to do with you, a lot to do with stuff that's happened in my life.
Right.
Okay. This movie just made it that much more of a kick in the ass to say, listen, you know what? Maybe there is something better you can do. You know?
That's beautiful, bro.
Like, honestly, that's what I got from this movie. People are thinking of it as
it's misunderstood, horrible, that's for sure. But I think the message is getting missed. I can't get there yet. It's just too messy for me, so I can't get there. I'm glad you.
I'm sorry, but for me, it's I'm not apologizing. No, I'm not apologizing. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that, but I'm Canadian, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
no, but I get why you love it for that reason. Yeah. I just wish it's just too, I can't get there because it's still a bit too messy for me, the whole film. But the messaging of it, the whole thing, the whole conversation about creation and creators, and like, and
I was trying to push my nephews on this movie.
Right. Oh, yeah? I even took the other part too literal. Remember, you guys had to set me straight. You both understood it the first time we watched it. I didn't. Remember, I thought he actually had powers to stop time, and you're like, no, that's just a metaphor for like he can see the like what he wants to do for the city, and like in that moment
he can envision
and the woman that he fell in love with also was able to see that. That's why they connected. But there's a bunch of moments where I took super literal in the film, which again, because it's like it's science fiction, which I didn't really look at it that way. This film, if you look at the genre of this movie, it's listed as one of the genres of science fiction for the listing of this film. It's just it's pretty out there. Like some of the ideas, like I'm not gonna say the ideas.
The material that he's talking about to fucking create this is unrealistic in a sense,
right?
But it doesn't mean it's not. You can't have somebody's got the right vision, like these guys, like on the Steve Jobs movie. Like these actual people in real life, if they had that vision to go forward and try it out, it is possible. And there's got to be a fucking mathematical equation to make stuff work. Math always seems to make stuff work, regardless of what you think.
Sure.
Right? I think they did a great job of showing how you can control the masses still.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you're going to lose control again. And eventually it just takes time before that fucking glass tips.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The glass can only get so full. The planet can only get so full before that fucking planet shifts on its axes. And then how the fuck are we going to go? No, but some people are looking in the right direction and looking outwards, and seeing where we can evolve to and from, instead of just standing.
But it's very hard. It's very hard.
It's very hard to envision that. It is. And also very hard to be.
I'm being silly, bro. I'm just sorry.
No, I
don't mind me.
But it had my mind going in a fucking race, bro. This movie.
How about you, Max? Because you've been, I know we've been kind of talking.
No. I'm really liking JT and your thoughts as well. I'm enjoying the convo. So I don't know. I just like that it is different. I like that is the movie. You know, it kind of reminds me of like something the Wachowskis would have made, or like Cloud Atlas or something like. Where it's like a genre, it's a movie that has like 100 genres in it. It is a sci-fi, but it is also a comedy. It's a drama. It's a romance. It's everything. Like it's got so much in it that you can kind of get whatever you want out of it. And I just like how different it is. And this is you're talking about Francis Ford Coppola. This is a filmmaker that comes from a time and place where filmmakers actually took like big chances on their movies.
Yes.
And I think that's why
a lot of evolution too.
Absolutely. And that's why I think there's the disconnect between the modern day audience and a movie by Francis Ford Coppola, by the way, who hasn't made a movie that people have really talked about on this type of level in quite some time. And it has to have been because he's been making movies, but it hasn't had this type of attention. We live in this sort of meme Twitter kind of generation where like now people are talking about a Francis Ford Coppola movie. Who would have thought that?
So this reminded me of something I heard somebody talk about on a movie podcast. They were talking about, it's actually funny. They were talking about this movie. They were talking about The Godfather too.
Yeah.
And
Godfather Part 2?
Yes, Part 2.
Okay.
And basically what they said was they were talking about it in reference to, at the time, the Godfather films were not getting universally praised. And this is what he referenced in his trailer for this film, was that he was trying to
the quotes.
And the guy said, he's like, many great pieces of art are not understood during their time.
Who said that?
It was well, you want me to cite the podcast? Yeah. It was on the Rewatchables podcast when they talked about Godfather Part 2, and it was the director that worked on Billions, and he also
Brian Koppelman or whatever. Yes. Is that a fact though? Because didn't they win all the Oscars? Godfather and Godfather Part 2.
The reason he was saying that though, no, but I don't know if it won all the Oscars.
It won Oscars,
but I think they were talking about more about the first Godfather. Like it wasn't. There was some people that didn't like it at the time. It was during that podcast.
There are people who don't like.
He may have not even made it to the reference to that film, but he was talking about it in the sense that he also brought up Goodfellas, for instance. He said, "I remember watching Goodfellas,
and people didn't like it.
If you had asked me the next day if I should go watch that movie, I was so shook, like shaken." From the end of that film of what had occurred in that last little bit, I did not have a good time watching that last bit because, as you can tell in Goodfellas, you know, it's like a roller coaster ride. Like it's all bad stuff that happens to him at the end, and you leave the theater being like
shit. Yeah,
right. So then people would go out and critics would talk about it and be like, well, what the hell was that? Like, I didn't learn anything from this film or what, you know what I mean? So like, so that's what he meant by like great piece of art are misunderstood in the moment because we haven't lived with them for a period of time to understand the point that this guy was trying to make. Like there's films there, and especially in a film like this, where he's talking about a fictional future that we can't even achieve. Like we can't even fathom what this society that they're talking about, that we're living in sustainable energy homes that are flowers or whatever is going on.
It's very idealistic.
Right. But I love the optimism of it. I love the optimism of it. I love how optimistic he is about our future.
Why do you think guys like stuff like Star Trek?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it brings
it's all society working together.
Yeah. One nation.
Yeah.
You know, not one.
Like, that was Gene Roddenberry's vision for that.
Yeah, it's show, everybody working in together.
That's why there was an Asian person and a black person, and that was the whole point of that. It was like United Nations in space, essentially.
Wow. There were different countries.
Yeah,
it was just the Earth was the different
like
Federation,
aliens, and like he wanted unity. Like it was about
planets,
joining everybody together as one and working to go
and exploring the vast universe and finding that's his mission statement, Gene. Right? That was like that was always the idea behind that.
Bro, if he's not one of the OG fucking visionaries of the world,
bro,
that's like in the modern, in the 19th and the 20th century, then there's something wrong with 20, because there's a lot of things that could have done to somebody.
That's
somebody
a good comparison,
Steve
Jay. I like that.
I like
something
to like Steve Jobs,
right?
That would make him think about fucking even putting him or making these fucking things,
right.
Yeah,
absolutely. because of the fucking little intercoms and shit. And then you see medical stuff that they use from Star Trek,
right?
Kind of in a sense where they can go inside you with a little fucking camera and fix something, bro. I mean, I've had that shit done. I mean. The brain is so unbelievably fucking talented, and it can make you, if you trigger the right parts, it can make you do so many. I've learned ways to get people younger generation, like I've seen my nephews and stuff, how to tap into I've learned ways how to tap into the common sense part of their brain because they don't have it fully functional yet. And it's very simple. It's something like making them do math questions a couple times, right? And it taps into that part of your fucking brain.
Right.
I don't know what's been doing this to me. I don't know if it's the new medication I'm on, but bro, it's like, guys, okay, if that, I'm making that joke because I suffer with epilepsy, so I do take some medications.
Right.
So I do tend to see how the body tends to react to things, especially medications that stimulate the mind.
Right.
And sometimes it can be really fun. And plus I use stimulants on my own, but at the end of the day,
what does this have to do with Megalopolis?
No, but at the end of the day, it's almost the same thing. The movie is letting you open up that part of your brain that you might not have wanted to open up.
You got there, okay.
It was coming. Bro. It has to come out completely. It says it's right in my head. I told you.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump out in the middle of the conversation.
It's only a half-baked idea until you see it fully done there. Okay. So you're saying this, you felt that way about this movie. It made you think about certain stuff that opened your mind to certain things you had never. Yeah.
Of course.
I think that's the point. I think that's the point of it.
I was thinking, there's times when the mayor, right. He didn't even speak. Was that Adam Driver when he was looking at him there? And did he make him shut up?
Right.
Or did he make? How did that work?
Right.
Or how did that part where when he woke up with the fucking dream and he stood up like that? But he at that exact moment he's reaching for the fucking cloud.
I will say this: it's just very ambitious, which I love, though. But even though ambition though is not always 100% successful in like, but I'd rather him take a huge swing and try to attempt to do something at this point
in his career
at this age that he's at, that he's still making movies and have it be a misunderstood masterpiece, as you had referred to it, than make some other fucking generic piece of shit like we're gonna get The Godfather Part 4, right?
90% of the movies that we get today. And I actually think that's why the pushback is there, is because the movie is so different than what modern audiences are accustomed to. Honestly, that's how I feel. That's why it's like if something is different, they have that reaction. And it's crazy that because I mentioned this last time, I rewatched Jerry Maguire. It's kind of crazy that like that's another movie that's all about optimism in a cynical world and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's crazy how fallen are we as people that
we can't appreciate something like that.
Optimism is a revolutionary thought.
Not only that, people are rushing out of the theater to talk shit about it on the internet.
Yeah, like
if that doesn't tell you what's wrong with like society right now, that like I don't know what else to tell you.
People have not even seen the movie and are talking shit about it.
The first time
I'm guilty of it too.
Even give I'm guilty of it.
I'm guilty of myself at times, right? I'm not saying I'm better than that. Yeah.
On the way home that night.
We had a long convo about it.
After you left. Yeah.
And I like you said, I like all the parallels to Roman culture, how basically our culture is just an updated advanced technology version of Roman. And there's actually this one scene, you probably remember it. There's this one scene where Adam Driver is going to meet Aubrey Plaza in the park.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, she's waiting for him without a coat.
She's waiting. Yeah. The opening of that movie, of that scene, he emerges from like a gazebo that has columns in it. Right. So they're making literally a little reference that Roman architecture is ever so present in our modern society, and this is going to be like it could have just been like ancient times.
I remember walking back from the theater that night, and you were pointing out buildings that had the same architecture from that.
They can't even tear down the old Colosseum, which is falling down on its
and then the scene.
Get over it. It's over.
I mentioned this to you, Jay. There's this scene where when the satellite kind of crashes down on Earth, and there's like silhouettes of people on the buildings, the red light on buildings and stuff. And that kind of reminds me of like the volcano in Pompeii thing where people actually got trapped.
That's right.
They got forever cemented in their own ash kind of thing, and they were frozen in time. And there was just so many parallels to our ancient history. It's crazy.
You know what? It's just it's a fucking overall fantastic movie, I think, and it's been put out in a way that even weird people like me can understand it.
Yeah,
not so much weird people,
but for the dreamers, it's for the creatives, right? Absolutely. That's kind of like there's a lot of
we live in a time and place where all of our art now has become so like repetitive. Like we get like all this like remakes of shit and
that's a constant theme throughout this film.
We need to stop focusing on our past so much, bro.
Yeah, and look towards
our past
the future.
Is really only okay. Doesn't matter what we did in our past, but there's so many quotes out there nowadays that you hear that our past is what made us, yes, but we got to move forward from that, because the only way we're going to move forward from our past is if we let it go. How many times have people told me to let go of the past because you can't change it? Okay, let go of it. We can't change what happened in history. We can't change what happened.
But you learn from it. Like that's we need
to learn for. We need to move forward. We've done our learning.
Embrace change.
We've embraced. We've done our learning. We need to move forward and project it.
You know what the reaction to this movie kind of reminds me of? This might kind of rile Nico up a bit, but
riled me up.
Yeah, it might rile you up a bit because when I think of like movies that got such a negative reaction, and I feel like the reason they got this negative reaction is because they're so different, is Batman versus Superman.
Oh, I don't love that movie.
No. I don't know, but I feel like no, I was just joking about the rile up thing. But I was thinking like
me and him was scrap.
When you talk about
Superman, he likes Batman.
Yeah. I love them both, but I feel like when that movie came out, people really disliked it, and that's another movie that I come back to, and I'm like, wow, I really do like that movie. I feel like a big reason for the negative pushback on that movie is because it wasn't what Marvel was putting out. It wasn't a joyous sort of movie. It was incredibly dark.
Yes,
incredibly cynical.
That's the main reason. It was
filled
dark.
with death that had repercussions. Like, and it's like it was so against what people were being fed at that point. And I feel like Megalopolis is very similar, where it's like this movie doesn't have any real structure. There's all these like title cards that are flying up, and then randomly Lawrence Fishburne is there. It's very free flowing.
This is what I mean by messy. And that's why I can't get there 100%.
No, it's not that. I don't think it's messy. I just think
this is why I think it's messy. You just described why I think it is. There's too many ideas going in there. There's too many directions that it's going. I appreciate a lot about it.
Yeah.
I just think as all together, it fails, I feel like. And I feel like some of the ideas, although I will say on a second watch, they came across much better.
Okay, that's fair.
I just feel like got bogged down by all the other stuff going on in the movie.
But what I mean by I wouldn't use the word, for me personally, my interpretation, I wouldn't use the word messy. I would just say that people their brains have been so conditioned to think that a movie can only be this sort of format, this structure. And now comes a movie that challenges that structure, and people just
they're not ready for it.
They're not ready for it, really.
That's why some stuff is not noticed in the time it comes out. That's what I meant by some artists misunderstood in the time that it comes out.
And I think Coppola comes from a time and place, the 70s, when all these filmmakers were making those types of risky changes. And like that was seen as a golden age. And that might have been the best decade in American cinema.
Will it stand the test of time? I don't know, but I mean,
it could change the future. This type of movie.
I just want to bring up one thing. It's so funny. Martin Scorsese, he took Killers of the Flower Moon to the Cannes Film Festival, and some like Canadian journalists, it's always a Canadian, I swear, they're like, oh, why how come at this age you decided to take such a risky topic? Or he said something like that. You can literally look it up. He's like, why did you decide to do such a risky movie? Or not risky in the sense that he took risks, like he challenged himself. And Marty said, at this age, what else do you want me to do? Like,
I've done it all already.
I'm in my 80s. I gotta do something new.
And I'm already been celebrated for the films I've done. So, like, what?
I think
Coppola with a bang.
I think Coppola
was having fun with this one.
He's having fun. And there's one review I read on Letterboxd, which I think describes it perfectly.
Go ahead.
This movie was like a child playing with their toys or something, like on a toy set. It's just he's doing all these crazy stuff.
There's some scenes in this. I'm still like, what is going on? Like,
I love it all.
But I'm saying that while enjoying it.
Yeah.
I went in with an open mind the second time around, where I wasn't analyzing it as much as I felt like the first time we did it, because the first time we had heard such bad things. I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. But I've already heard all these bad things. This time I'm like, you know what? I somewhat enjoyed certain aspects of the film. I'll rewatch it. I'll see what gives here. We're going to have this conversation. Let's see how I thought. I did like it better the second time I watched it. I will say it.
I'll give you
watch it a third time.
I'll give you that. There are goofy.
I would like to see my brother. I would like to hear my brother's opinion. If you ever actually sat through this movie,
I don't think
you should show it to him. You should show this one interview with Coppola. This is actually funny. When I watched interviews with him and he was describing it, and he said his sort of hope and dream for this movie was that people would watch this on New Year's Eve. Oh, sorry, not New Year's Day.
Okay.
Because I think it's like this movie.
A new day. And then
kind of talk about the movie and sort of like
interesting.
He said that his dream for this movie is for it to have like a tradition in the same way that
there you go, Jay. You know what you're watching on New Year's Day now.
How people watch It's a Wonderful Life
around Christmas.
Yeah. He said he kind of
that's Wonderful Life around Christmas.
That's his dream for like.
I like that. I like that sentiment. You know why? Because you know what? It's Wonderful Life. Have you seen it before?
I haven't. I would need to.
It's not my pick, sadly. So I'll tell you that right now. It's not my pick.
This Christmas, I'll make a point to watch
it. That movie is about appreciating what you have.
Yeah.
It's very much about that. The messaging of the film is about a man who had everything and felt like he had nothing.
Yeah.
And it's such a great message. So if he's saying that about this film, about looking forward to a new day and a new future in the new year, I get what he was going. See, that's what I mean. I just think it's lost. It's lost amongst like some of the other aspects of this film. Like,
I'm telling you, dude.
I was gonna say,
I can get with that. I can get with that. I like that.
There are definitely goofy moments in this movie. I think intentionally,
but they were there.
They were there
intentionally, which I didn't think the first time.
No, I definitely.
We also had to lighten it up too, because you have to remember we are in the 21st century, in this movie. So
maybe he's just trying to make look at these idiots. This is us.
But I think there's
what we look like.
Yeah, that could be it too.
I think it's also like really, in addition to those goofy moments, I think there is like genuine like beauty and like poetry in this movie that really touched me like emotionally. It was the interview with Q. You know Q, that CBC. That he did an interview with those guys, with that guy, and he was talking about how he wants people to watch Megalopolis on New Year's Day, and then after talk about it and talk about the futures and stuff like that's kind of like what he wants.
I like that. I like that.
I
like that. Honestly, I do, because
I'll let you know.
Yeah,
because that's
a new tradition.
Because like the reason that's why I got what he was trying to say from you saying that, because that is that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, because the holidays, as you may know, is sometimes not the best time for people, because it does bring up a lot of bad things as well. But that's what that movie's about, because that guy's at the bottom of his rope. Like, he's really having a hard time in that movie, and and the bank's gonna foreclose like on his like company, and he owes them all this money, and he's like basically been run out of town, and he forgets about what like all the friends and good that he has in his life. That's, I mean, I love It's a Wonderful Life, but that's the whole.
That's what I get out of that too, bro. I know that part. I know that feeling. I know that feeling personally.
That's what that movie's trying to say, right? Like,
I have one final observation, just like one kind of detail I noticed about the movie. There is a Christmas scene in this movie, like where it's like they say Saturnalia, which is like an actual Roman tradition or whatever, and then they show all the modern day traditions. They show like people celebrating Christmas, Hanukkah.
And it's New Year's at the end of the movie. That's when they take the picture. That's right. I forgot about that.
Before that, they're showing Christmas. They're showing like a Christmas scene or whatever. And then they show people celebrating Hanukkah, the Muslims celebrating their traditions or whatever. And it's so funny to me is like, because it's making the parallel between our modern winter traditions and like what was originally the Saturnalia, like Roman, whatever. They also had a traditional winter tradition. Right. It's just like, it doesn't matter what culture you're from. All of them celebrate to have some
variation of that.
Special occasion during the same time of year, and it's kind of like connecting all of us in that sense, like no matter what culture.
Right.
And I don't know. I really like that.
Recording this the day the Santa Claus parade was just on, and that's the last one, because we're talking about culture thing. And if that's the last one, that's kind of weird, bro. That's like if everybody does celebrate
I caught a bit of Christmas, it today because it ends here down the street. Yeah.
Like, that's why it was a mess to park down here. But but honestly, that's kind of in the same sense, like he was saying with the Christmas aspect. Yeah, it's like this is like why get rid of it? Something that is something that everybody does celebrate, regardless of it's their tradition or not. At this time of year, usually celebrates something like that, right?
So, well, I mean, here's hoping that it actually does. I'm not going to say this is going to be the catalyst of change in our society, but I
hope it makes people think differently.
But I will say, I do agree that it's misunderstood on some levels. I don't think that it should be getting people shitting on it the way it is, because I feel like they're approaching it in the wrong way. Quite frankly,
I don't like that mentality.
That's why I don't like to read stuff before I go watch a movie.
Like, neither do I, but I also that does sometimes help if you hear certain stuff about, hey, this is something good, you should go check this out. And that, I don't always.
Then it could be a flop.
The term flop means you didn't make money. That's what it's referring to. It's not a reference.
Well, we know how he struggled to get this movie put in theaters, right?
Think about it. Like, people, I also feel like there's an insecurity issue happening, because people don't even believe in
people want to see people fail.
Absolutely. And then they take joy in the fact that this guy who doesn't care about those things, he doesn't care about money.
This is a social media
he
flop,
put all his money again, doubled down and put all his money in this film. This is not the first time he's done this in his career.
Absolutely.
So if that doesn't tell you how much he believed in what he was doing with this movie,
and I think he made an excellent film, and this is actually this is gonna make one of my top movies of the year.
When did it come out again?
September this year.
What was I doing? Wasn't I going through a lot of change then?
Yes, you were. Actually, we did. Well, that's why I didn't realize that till I rewatched it this time around. I was like, oh, I could see why Jay's related to this film so much right now in his life, with all the changes that have occurred as of recently, right? Which we don't got to get into.
No.
But I'm just saying, in general,
that's why I wanted to ask.
And it's something that you resist, and it's something that you're resistant of normally. If I could be, frank,
you can
mention that, right?
When we all know that,
and it's not just you. No. Lots of people are resistant to change because they're worried about what it will lead to. Is it going to be bad change? Is it going to be good change? Right?
It's a scary thing for a lot of people.
Right?
Because some people, I mean, I've had a lot of bad change too, right?
Especially when you get older, you're set in your ways, right?
That's the hard.
That's a good point.
And that's why in this movie we got the new young come up who's trying to change things, the radical, right? And then you have the old traditionalist played by the mayor trying to stop his creativity,
Yes.
stifle his creativity, right? So that's what
because
this film
they think
is
it'll
about.
ruin the society.
This is what this film. See, but unless you sit there and have these conversations, you could look at this movie and be like, "This is so stupid.
You know
what's going on in this? Like, what was that scene? What was that scene?" And this is why I said it's a bit of a mess for me, but I love certain aspects of it, especially the messaging.
You know what? But that's what I feel like is missing from. Not that it doesn't exist, but that's
why I like it. We do the show. I like
it. No, but like I feel like that's what's missing in our culture. Where it's like you watch a movie and then you go out, you get coffee or whatever, and you talk about it, and you.
Now you just get on the internet. What a piece of shit.
People literally I don't know.
Steve Jobs messed it up there.
People watch a movie, bro, and then like 10 seconds out of the
Letterboxd.
They're on Letterboxd.
That was
they're on Twitter. They don't even give themselves the time to marinate on what they just saw. They already have an instant opinion about it.
Well, that goes back to the Scorsese thing he said that you mentioned before about how he wants people to actually sit with the film.
Think about it. Talk to someone about it. Exchange ideas. Like we need more of that and less of this. Yeah, disparaging people just because they went all out in a movie.
It's the cool thing to do.
Yeah, like MegaFlopolis. Okay, tell me if you don't. If you say
but we're in a PC culture. We're supposed to not put people down.
No, but you see, I accept your criticism because it's actually rooted in Europe, like in thought, right?
Yeah,
like you say, it's messy. Okay, I can accept that, but people who are just saying MegaFlopolis as in reference to that it's not making it's funny. Exactly. I get it, it's funny.
I'm sorry.
They're saying it like, it didn't make any money, like that matters about how good a movie is.
Right.
Like this Steve Jobs movie didn't make any money either.
See?
But we're talking
Beach
about
Bum didn't even make its budget.
There you go.
Great.
Get your shit off, Max. See, this is why I started out like this, because he was really upset by this when it first happened.
I don't like it. I don't like I just don't like. It's just like, okay, so we're gonna shit on Mega.
You can't even say the name anymore.
Megalopolis, yeah.
Just fuck it up like I did. It's all good, buddy.
We're gonna shit on Megalopolis, but then praise like every
generic
reductive thing that comes out now. Like things are not even original anymore.
This was
Megalopolis. What you can say about Megalopolis, it's an original. film.
This was the year of the sequel, right? Like almost everything was derived from a previous successful film that came out this year.
Hasn't that been the case for the last 10 years?
No, but this year was apparently one of the biggest for that.
Really? I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
It was Dune Part 2, Inside Out Part 2. But I like those movies. But
no, but I'm just saying they're running back all the successful films because they were coming out of a bad period during the pandemic.
I see.
So this is them stacking the decks. Yeah. These are all films that were successful the first time.
Yeah,
here's all their sequel. Exactly.
Unless it's
which I'm not against, but again, you need creative, different types of films to come out within a year or two. You may not have appreciated or liked this film, guys, but guess what? It was something different. He tried to do something different.
This could have only happened with him putting his own money up because
absolutely
Hollywood is not going to spend $100 million on a sci-fi that doesn't fit in any genre and is just all encompassing.
Right.
Sort of like Beau is Afraid, I feel. Like that movie is like
I still haven't watched it. I'm afraid
that movie is like how could you even sell that movie? Because it fits into so many
bizarre, man. Yeah. It's not scary. It's
no.
It's weird.
It's emotionally fucked up too, right?
You're not Jewish and you don't have a mother complex. No, but
okay.
No, but that's what the film's about.
Yeah.
It's about the film is about about Jewish people with mother complexes, right? Like
I mean, it could be about that, but it could be about other things like anxiety, living in
the second half of that
living
film,
in a violence, the anxiety of living in a violent.
There's that aspect of it, but the second half of the film is more about the Jewish mother.
Which I think is the funniest thing when you talk about Jewish comedy. The fact that actually, I'm not going to spoil it. Never mind.
Yeah. But that is a theme. I'm not just throwing that out there. That is one of the
funniest jokes. One of the funniest jokes in that movie. Like it's a beauty the way it turns around.
But that is the anxiety thing. That was what he was going for in the Jewish culture. That's what he was going for in the film. Like that's what he was going for. Ari Aster.
Ari Aster.
That's what my understanding of the movie was.
Ari Aster has described. He said that he considers Midsommar a Jewish comedy.
Shut up!
I swear, look it up, bro.
How? It's not even about Jewish. Like it's
Swedish, no?
I know,
but it's Jewish, as in like the writer and director is a Jew. Like, is it
okay? I guess
because that movie, it was so funny. That movie is about a guy.
How is that a comedy? It's the most disturbing film I mean.
Because it's about a guy breaking up with his girlfriend, and then all this crazy cult shit is happening. And then the
ultimate. Never mind. Ari Aster's on one. I don't know what this guy's.
I can see where he's coming from.
A few of these.
Okay. By the way, when I saw that movie when I saw that movie in theaters with my friends, and then when Christian has sex with that girl, and all those ladies we were laughing our asses off. Like we're like, what the hell is happening right now?
There's more absurd moments that are laughable, though. I would say in Beau is Afraid.
And you know what's so funny? I mentioned that whole Midsummer thing, and in relation to Megalopolis, people were saying that stuff was unintentionally funny, like when he's fucking that girl and there's all these women chanting or whatever. He's like, the critics were like, that's unintentionally funny, and then Ari Aster was like, bro, give me some credit, I meant it to be funny. Like you know, that would be
the most awkward fucking thing in the world that's going on. Yeah,
that's what makes it funny. It's so uncomfortable.
No, I get it. I get where some people fucking take like humor from different
places. Yeah, it's like dark comedy.
But no, I think you should watch it. And we went on a major tangent here. Let's bring it back home, though. Final thoughts. No. Final thoughts, though, on the film. Jay?
I loved it. And I'll keep watching it. And I'm going to watch it again. I'll probably watch it 3 more times before the end of the year.
New Year's Day as well, sounds like.
Yeah, that one will be a guarantee. But no, I think it was a great job that he did. And honestly, you have to watch it more than once to actually get the picture and see it. And if you're too one-sided, then you're not going to see it at all.
We'll end on Max. I'm just going to say again, I still can't get there 100% to say this is a great film or a masterpiece like Jay just went on about. That being said, I do think it's worth rewatching. It's a fun film to watch. I definitely probably would rewatch it again. I'm not against rewatching it again. I liked it more the second time than I did the first time. I love the messaging of the film, and I love a lot of aspects of the film. Just as a whole, I don't think I can get there. Like, it's not going to be making my top 5 list of the year. I'll tell you that right now. That being said, I'm happy that he took a swing and went for something different. And I love the optimism of the movie. So I do like a lot about it as well.
Nice.
Yeah. I echo all your sentiments, and I think it's an ambitious film that personally works for me because it's just he just went for it. He just went for it, and it's just so different. It's so bold. It's so courageous, and it is one of my favorite movies of the year. And I'm happy that Francis is showing people how it's done. You know, he's showing the world like
OG.
Be creative. Don't be afraid to show the world who you. I remember watching like a very, very long time ago an interview with Coppola where he says, the worst thing an artist can do is be afraid of being pretentious. Like, don't be afraid to show people your pretentiousness. Like, that's who you are, and be proud of it. And
it makes you, bro.
It's what makes you. And so I love what Francis did here. I love his career. I think, people only harp on The Godfather. I think he's done much more than that. And I'll look forward to his next project. Hopefully it comes. And yes, great project.
And on that note, hey, check out this boner. And I'm not actually showing you a boner. You guys have to watch the film if you haven't to understand that reference.
You're anal as hell. Meanwhile, I'm oral as hell. Whatever she said.
Bro, I'm telling you.
What are you chilling at the club?
Yeah.
I mean, I like.
Go back to the club.
Yeah. Wait, why don't you go back to the club? Yeah, and then we'll come back later. Or whatever it says. Yeah.
I love that shit.
Well, there you have it, guys. That's our review on Megalopolis. Worth checking out if you've yet to do so. All right, because it's definitely worth the conversation.
Just watch it for even Shia LaBeouf.
Right. There you go. Shia LaBeouf's awesome in it. Yeah, he's great.
He adds just that touch that you need.
Yeah. Anti-wow.
Well, you know what? Hey, on that last one, I'll just say that maybe 10 years ago I wouldn't understand this movie as well as I did today.
Right.
So
there you go.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe watch it 10 years down the road.
You've come a long way.
I'm gonna watch it on New Year's Day. I'm gonna make that.
You're gonna go for it.
I'm gonna go for New Year's Day.
I like it. All right. Well, there you go, guys. To Utopia.
Dystopia.
You can't change the world unless you change yourself.
That's right.